Good morning. Today we turn to Psalm 95. It's one that reminds me of one of my favorites, Psalm 100. And I think you'll make that association too if you're familiar with Psalm 100 as I read this psalm. Come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout aloud to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before him with thanksgiving and extol him with music and song. For the Lord is the great God, the great King above all gods. In his hand are the depths of the earth, and the mountain peaks belong to him. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Come, let us bow down and worship. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, the flock under his care. And then you'll notice here in the second part of verse 7 into the beginning of verse 8, the tone changes. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as you did at Meribah, as you did that day at Massah in the desert, where your fathers tested and tried me, though they had seen what I did. For 40 years I was angry with that generation. I said, they are people whose hearts go astray, and they have not known my ways. So I declared on oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest. So you really can divide this psalm into two sections, and you could say it's an invitation with reasons and then an invitation with warnings. That's how Charles Spurgeon saw it. So the first part is all the reasons why we would respond to the invitation to come into the presence of God with joyful songs and with praise and thanksgiving, which are the proper ways to approach God. The second part really is saying, take a look at what happened at Massah and Meribah, and that's actually often translated as in the provocations and as in the day of temptation in the wilderness, where your fathers tested and tried me. It's actually quoted in Hebrews chapter 3, verse 8 and following. So I wanted to just drill down a little bit on this idea of testing God. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as you did at Meribah, as you did at Massah in the desert, where your fathers tested and tried me. You know, that idea of testing God is really the idea of saying, God, you have done some things, but you need to do more to prove that you're good. It's really saying, God, you need to change your ways and prove your goodness to me. Because that's what the Israelites were doing with God. He'd provided manna, he'd provided quail, he'd provided water from the rock, and they were saying, well, really you need to do more to prove that you really love us and are taking care of us. Sometimes that's called tempting God, tempting him to say, okay, I got to do more to prove who I am. And God would not succumb to that temptation. It made him very angry. As I think about that, I think it's really an issue that we all can fall into, where, like, I might say, God, you've been very good to me in the past, but right now this is happening with my child, and so you need to fix this to prove to me that you're good. Or this is happening with my personal economy right now, or my job, or something else, and I'm just not so sure you're good. You've done these things in the past, but you need to change your plans here because this isn't looking good to me. That's really what the Israelites were doing, and that's what we're tempted to do too. You know, sometimes I think, what would happen if I were to pass away at the age of 62? Let's say I got the disease and COVID and died. You know, I grew up my whole life thinking I'd probably live into my mid-50s because my dad did, and then I learned just a few years ago that my lifestyle, because I don't drink, doesn't put me in danger for the kind of cancer, liver cancer, that he died of. Not to say I couldn't get it, but this person said you're far less likely to get that. And so, sometimes I think, yeah, you know what? It's already, I have 7 years of bonus compared to what I used to think I would live. When you live that way, thinking, life is a bonus, then you don't have these expectations that you put on God, like, God, you better not let anything happen to me because I want to live to a ripe old age and see my grandchildren and all those kinds of things. I mean, we'd all like that, right? We'd all like that, of course. But we can't hold God to those kind of things. We need to say, God, you've been good to me in the past, and you don't have to do anything more to prove to me your goodness. That's the temptation that the psalm is talking about, that the Israelites succumbed to, and God was angry with them. So again, this is an invitation with a reason, all these reasons that God is good, and then an invitation with a warning that we not tempt God by saying, well, you've been good, but not good enough, or not good in the ways I want you to. I hope you have a good day and think about this passage in light of what we've learned today. God bless you.